Hello, good evening and welcome to the Little Farmer's Farm with me, Tony. Today we're going to be harvesting, we're going to be clearing and weeding, and we're going to be preparing some beds in readiness for the late autumn into winter crops that we're going to be growing inside the polytunnel and the greenhouse. So without further ado, I'll get cracking on. We've got to get the tomatoes out for the start, so the final flush of the fruits will be getting harvested today. Bradley took a load off yesterday, actually. He took about 50 off yesterday, but I'm going to get the remainder out this morning. Take the stems, get rid of the plants, and just really prepare the beds for what we're going to be planting later on through the season or through the year, which is going to be leafy green vegetables and potentially, hopefully, potatoes. Can't get hold of any seed potatoes at the moment, so we're going to use shop bought first earlies, new potatoes. I'll show you that later on. Right, okay, let's get clearing, let's get harvesting, let's get weeding. So this is the last really of our tomato harvest, and to be honest with you, it's done fantastically well this year. We've had tons and tons and tons of tomatoes off these plants. I'm in the tiki tunnel at the moment, my super duper trampoline framed tiki tunnel, poly growing tunnel that I created, and yeah, so there's not too many toms still left on. What I may do with these ones in the string of pearls configuration is I might hang those up and let them ripen on inside the tunnel, but the plants themselves are going to be coming out. I'm going to pick off all the right ones on these orange little Ildi tomatoes. We'll take them with us. These are all the small sort of cherry and small pear tomatoes that we've got growing on. These are Ildi F1. I don't think we've got many of the Sun Gold left. These are Sun Gold tomatoes, which are exceptional. Oh, God, they've been good this year. They're good every year, these. Sun Gold. But some of them, oh, look at them falling like, dropping like stones. Oh, they've all been good. These Sun Gold tomatoes have all been fantastic. Which is why I might, because that's going off the Sun Gold stem, might well save some of these, as I say, and hang them. That one, that big one, is growing off the Super Sweet 100 stem. So let's separate those. Super Sweet 100 on that side. Yeah, so this is the Sun Gold. They're a lovely tomato, those. Absolutely succulent, beautiful and sweet. I heartily recommend Sun Gold tomatoes. But there's not many left on them, unfortunately. The most prolific ones have been the Super Sweet 100. But they're not quite as nice. They're alright, but not quite as nice. Anyway, they're coming out. So those are tomatoes. A combination of Ildi F1, Super Sweet 100, and Sun Gold. About £1.50 there. Now we've been checking that 3 times a week for the last 12 weeks off this. So that's £9 a week times 10 is, well no, that's £4.5 a week times 10 is 45, plus the other 9, £54. And that's at least, because before that, I mean, that's just talking about July. Now we were taking probably about £1 a week in the run up to mid-July, from about mid-June. So we'll say as a conservative estimate, at least £50. That's £5 in weight of tomatoes. These cherry tomatoes as well, which are small. So you need a lot of them to build up your weights. Yeah. From each plant, there's 10 plants in there, and we've done remarkably well, I think, with that. I do like this sort of cordon effect that I've got going on in here. I'm going to keep that. I'm going to do that next year. This is the thing I would do again. I'd have the six buckets. Now these are the buckets that are bottomless, so they're cut off at the bottom, so the roots can go down into the compost that's within your raised bed or your planter bed. Obviously, we're inside the tiki tunnel, so they're nice and warm. We've had adequate ventilation coming through from the sides here. They've kept them all nice and sort of blighty free, mouldy free, which has been good. So that's been a decent bit of condition. The only problem we've had with these was the spider mites. They were attacked about a month ago by the spider mites, which have been a complete pain in the backside. I mean, they're on the way out now. You can tell by the leaves they're well on the way out now. And we did trim a lot of foliage back from these to let the tomatoes ripen on. But yeah, the spider mites have had a right go at them, which we had with the peanuts as well. They attacked the peanuts. So, yeah, spider mites. 50-50 mix of alcohol and water in a spray gets shut of them. But I've been away for 10 days, and when I come back, there were spider mites infested. We had a spider mite issue. How many times can I say spider mites, do you think? I think I've said it enough now, haven't I? Spider mites. Apart from that, they've been great. Not a problem whatsoever. They've had the comfrey feed, which I think has produced plenty of full fruit. As you can see there, I have taken some of the vines off, which we're going to be leaving off and hanging across. Because this is a trampoline framed polytunnel, you've got these little hook things, hook holes, put the trampoline springs in. That's just a bar from an old, one of those old indoor greenhouse things, the small indoor greenhouse jobs, that's going across there, and then we can hang all sorts of stuff off that. We're going to be drying out onions and drying out the beans for getting the seeds and what have you for next year, all hanging off these little bars. Like I've done on this side as well. You can see there what I've done on this side is I put these little racks on top, and we were drying our onions through there, if you remember, putting the onions through the holes, and they were drying out in here, like these ones. There was only 4, which you can see there, that didn't make the cut from the onions. More onions there for winter, and garlic down there. It's a mess in here, I'm going to tidy it up. Anyway, besides the by, these are all coming out now, so I'm just going to trim off all of these fasteners, cut them all up, get shut. I know there's fruit still on there, but we've had such an abundance. I mean, this is about 1/10 of the, and I'm not joking, 1/10 of the vine coverage that was on these plants when they were up here. And we were taking them off all the time, pulling them off all the time. We've had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of tomatoes off these 4 plants, these Ildi. Hundreds. And most of them were like that size, little small tiny pear tomatoes, probably about 2 inches long. But these are too small anyway. I've like I say, I've took some fruits off. I'm going to strip these out, get shut of them now, because I'm daft like that. I'm half tempted not to. No, I will do. I'll get them out. We'll get them shifted, because we need the space in here now for our late autumn and winter stuff that we're putting in. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to strip all these out, retain, of course, these canes, but the zip ties are going to be binned off. They're going to be trashed off. Next year I won't be using the zip ties. I'll be using these. I'm going to get some of these, which are reusable ties. I should have done that this year, but was stupid and didn't do that. I had a load of zip ties left over, so I used them. But you can only use them once, the zip ties, and that's it. Which is a waste in it, and it's a plastic waste, so it's not a very nice thing to do. They're going to be going to the recycling, obviously, but it's not the way forward. Right, I'm waffling on, aren't I there? So let's get them cleared out. These. Now that is the root growth that you get from the bottomless pots. These can be used again. These are the Asda cut flower buckets, or Walmart, if you're an American person. And it all grows contained within the bucket and then goes down into the depths underneath. There's a video on this setup that we've got. And obviously the feed and the vermiculite was added into the... We had blood, fish and bone, that's all really. In fact, I think we had equal parts bloodfish and bone and extra bone meal for the roots when we put these in. But the main ball is that, and that's fed, well, that's been used to extract the nutrition for the entire plant as it's grown on. And that's in these. So yeah, the small plant was planted into there, it spread its wings underground, gone down to get its water, because it's watered from the bottom through these. The water gets fed into these upside down cut off pop bottles, which moisturises the water. This hasn't been watered for over a week, and it's very moist, and it's ideal. I have got a moisture meter that I test the soil moisture with. But above ground it can be relatively dry, but below ground, like that. So watered from the bottom, they've been fed within the bottomless pot with the comfrey. And the comfrey's gone in there as a comfrey solution, probably 1 part to 10, in fact more than that, 1 part to 20 we were doing. So 1 part of the comfrey feed into there. So we had 35 centilitres, just a few capfuls, 3 capfuls, something like that, into there, and then topped off with the water, and that was fed into the top. So these, and one of those cans did all 6. So they've not had ridiculous amounts of feed really, but the soil was prepared, as I say, initially it was prepared with bone meal and bloodfish and bone, in with the normal compost, the standard compost. I think it was a clover compost actually that we used in here. That's what we've used this year, and we've had really, really good results. I think we've had really good results from it. It's worked, definitely worked, this setup. Yeah, and that's the sort of root ball that you get. It's not too magnificent, is it? But it's done the job for sure. It's done the job for sure. And created these beautiful specimens, as was. They're not so beautiful now, like, but they've done well this year, these. So I'm going to carry on. I'm going to clear all these out. Any tomatoes that are left inside, like that have fallen off like this, I'm going to pull those out, obviously, and dispense with those as well, and just leave the compost. We're taking these out as well. Just leave the compost in and give it a top up, and that's the plan. Right. Now that was lined. That was the first bed that I put into the tiki tunnel, and I lined that with the 1000 gauge poly plastic, and also I put in the cardboard, and that's retained the moisture quite well. I also didn't add in the perlite. In the other two I did. So they're lined with a base which is a double thickness of the black weed retardant membrane. But I have noticed that through the season this year we've been getting horsetails coming up. Only horsetail, but horsetail nonetheless. Or mare's tail, depending on where you go. That's what it looks like. Mare's tail or horse's tail. All on that side hasn't been lined, as you can see. But it's such an invasive thing, mare's tail, that it'll grow up through the cracks. Any crack, it'll find it, and up it'll come. And it just pops off like that, so the root's still underground. What I'm going to do is, because that bed needs topping up anyway, I'm going to take some of the growing medium out of here, which is your compost with your perlite in, and stick it in there. And I'm going to empty into both of these, so that I'm down to a level. And then I'm going to black weed membrane it. And then once that's black weed membrane, I'm going to top that back up again, clear that out, and do the same with that one. I think it's what's required really, because we did get a lot of horse's tail coming up. Doesn't really do too much to the plant, horse's tail. It's not like bindweed, where bindweed will just climb up and strangulate your plants. But I don't know, I just don't like it. Just don't like the idea of it. I'm going to see if I can retard it as much as I can within these beds and give them a fighting chance. So that's what we're going to be doing. Right, so I've taken that one down to the initial black membrane, and I've whipped out the majority of the horse's tails as they've been poking through and pulled them out, but I thought I'll leave a couple in for illustration purposes. And there they are poking through. That's a double layer of weed membrane that they're poking through. So I'm going to get shut of the remainder of that now, and then put another double layer on, stapled up to about just above where the join is, going around. And hopefully that'll help to at least alleviate the problem. I'm hoping that the weakening of it, the constant weakening of the horse's tail, will eventually get shut of it. But it's so persistent and invasive, horsetail, or mer's tail, as you can see over there. It's an absolute pain in the bottom. So as you can see, it's coming around the sides here as well, sneaking its way in. Right, so I'll do that. Get rid of them, the remaining stalks coming up, and get it double lined. Okay, so that's an extra 2 layers. That's now got 4 layers of the black weed membrane, the horticultural grade black weed membrane. It's not the cheap stuff, it's the good stuff. And there are 4 layers of it. And I'll bet you a pound to a pinch of shizzle that the horse's tails will still get through that. But we're going to do an experiment. That's 2 layers, so I'm going to leave that as it is with the 2 layers. I'm going to put the 4 layers in there like I have done, leave the 4 layers in there, and we'll see what results we get next year. It tends to grow quite well through like spring and into late autumn, and then in the winter time it dies off, horse's tail. You don't tend to see it as much. But we'll see what happens, next spring, see what pops up. That's going to be the experiment. So remember, boys and girls, it's the middle one, the end one. That's already got the membrane, the plastic, the cardboard. That's got the 4 now layers of the horticultural grade weed membrane, and that's just got the 2 layers. So let's see what happens next time. I'm going to fill that up anyway now. I'm going to fill that back up. These are kind of topped off now, the other beds, with that middle one. So what I am going to do is I've got a couple more bags of compost. I'm going to throw in a couple of bags that need chucking in, and I'll do that. But I'll mix it as well, so you've got the same sort of variation in the soil, the growing medium. So I'll mix in some of the perlite mix in with the compost, along with the blood, fish and bone, and Bob's your uncle. Alright, so it's took, to top them all off, it's took a bag and a half, which is about, I would say, just around about 100 litres of compost. Probably a little bit more actually, because there's about 1/3 of a bag left. A bag and 2/3, and those are what are they, them 60, 70 litre bags, something like that. 75 litres, oh god, 125 litres it took to re-top those off. And I didn't have any perlite, so I've had to add the vermiculite into that middle one. But they're all roughly the same. They've all had 4 scoops of blood, fish and bone mix. And I'm going to plant in my brassicas now. I've got 12 cauliflowers that I started a while ago. When I say a while, it's about 6 weeks. About 6 weeks worth of growth that in here. And these are all the year round cauliflowers. So these are going to be going in. As you can see there, I've made excuse me, I made 4 holes in the soil, and in order to give the sort of grow room enough room, there's about 18 inches, or there'll be about 18 inches all around each plant, which should give them enough space to spread the wings. I'm going to be adding some coffee grounds, some spent coffee granules in a bit, just to see if that'll deter the slugs. I'm going to be putting that around each one. because I believe that it can put the slugs off that and deter them. But we'll see how we get on. In these raised beds, it's going to be easier for me when I come in and check on the plants to check the slug situation and pull the little swines off, hopefully, as I find them. But that's what's going anyway. We're going to be putting all the year-round collies in, because they do need to go in now. As you can see, they're getting a bit of yellowing on. It's because they're outgrowing the pots. So they're going to be going in. We're going to be putting some organic rooting compound on as well. Before we go in, I'm not going to lime it because at the moment we don't really need any lime. I've tested the soil pH and it's fine for brassicas. So we're alright. In case you were wondering, it likes to be just under 7. So very slightly acidic, the soil for brassicas, and that's spot on. So there's no need to add any amendments to that, unless you've got club root, and we won't have club root in here because it's all compost that's never been used for brassicas ever. So we shouldn't have any club root issues. So we're over the hole, and I'm just going to give it a bit of a dusting round. It'll be tricky this with only one hand. A bit in the hole. As if it drops in the hole, that's fine. That's good. That's what you want, really. I've pulled them out of the cells and teased the roots a little bit, just to break them up a little bit from the ball. I'm going to be giving them a liberal sprinkling, like Nigel from Muddy Boots. Nigel at Muddy Boots, he always does that. It's going in the hole as well, as you can see. Easier with 2 hands this, I'll tell you that. Doddle. And then in they go. And when they're going in, we're going to firm up around. A one-armed man can do this, if you see. If you look at that. A one-armed man can do it. Not brilliantly well, but he can do it. These like to be quite firmly pushed in to the ground. They're like a firm seat. Now in here, because it's inside the polytunnel, we shouldn't be getting affected by the strong winds and icy blasts. So they should grow, hopefully, fairly straight and true in here, all being well. So I'm going to continue on doing that now. I'm going to get them all in and give them a good watering. Give them a good drink, as Monty Don says. So I've done several locations within these beds, and the soil pH varies between about 6.3 to about 6.9. Now the ideal is between 6.5 and 6.8 for cauliflower. So it's not too far away, is it, to be honest with you? What I might do is, when I am watering, I may add in a teaspoon or a tablespoon per can of, can't see it in there, can you? Garden lime. I might do that, just to get the acid, you know, regulate the acidity, keep the acidity down a little bit, or either increase the pH a little bit. But we'll see how they get on. I think really it's not too bad. That might be a little bit acidic, slightly acidic in places, but it's only very slightly. And I think they can live with that. We'll see how they get on. Like I said, the optimal is between 6.5 and 6.8, which is slightly acidic, 7 being neutral, and anything above 7 being slightly alkaline, all the way up to, you know, 14, which is extremely alkaline. Okay. I think they can live with that, do you? We'll get the coffee grounds on. Our unique blend coffee. Brazil, Guatemala and Peru. So sprinkle about 4 or 5 inches worth of that all around, as you can see. Now, whether or not that'll have an impact, I don't know. But what I am going to do is, I'm going to put it onto these 2 beds, and I'm going to leave that bed and see what the difference might be. That is the way forward, I think, with that. I'm trying to be organically controlled as regards to pests. So the more of that I can do, the better. The more of that we can introduce on the little farm is all to the benefit. I don't like using artificial pesticides, insecticides or herbicides at all, if I can get away with it. And if I can deter the slugs and bugger them off, then that's fair enough. That's karma, isn't it? I'm sweating like the proverbial pig in here today. Since I sealed up these vents, these window vents around the side, and shut them off, the temperature in here, when it's sunny, is great. I mean, we're on, if you can make that out, it's 37 degrees Celsius in here. Right, so I'm going to get them watered in now, and then that's me. I'm going to get off because I've got to fix the roof, or replace the roof on Brenda's shed, who is my mother-in-law. So I better get that sorted out, answer. Otherwise I will be in trouble. So yeah, that's all that remains now, is just to water them in, give them a good drink, and away we go. Hopefully they'll be ripening up over the next few days as well. And job's a good one. If I don't see you through the week, I'll see you through the window. This is Guru Mafinda signing out, and remember, we love you all, and keep growing with your head down. That's the key. Not too late. Get them started off, get them in the ground, get some veggies for winter. Tatty bye, boys and girls. Catch you on the flip side. Bye-bye now.